And as you're doing that, I'm just going to introduce you. So Sonal Sachdeva, she's an astrologer, speaker, writer of Vedic astrology. She's an astrology and tarot consultant at Watkins Bookshop, esoteric bookshop in London. From computers, she migrated into making films and videography, and she also has a YouTube channel. I'm sure she'll be sharing it with you later. And this evening, she's going to be speaking with us on the Nakshatras and, the deities and the sacred trees in connection with it. So without further ado, over to you, Sonal. Take it away.
Okay, thank you, Israel, very much, and welcome everyone. And I think, Israel, you forgot. I think this course is quite interesting and quite important because I'm covering like bare bone basics of nakshatra, where the Indian zodiac is superimposed and derived from the nakshatras. So from that point of view, this is a very relevant topic that I would be covering now. And also a lot of the manifestations of what you want in life, and especially during like eclipses, which are very, very potent and very powerful times to actually manifest what you really would like, are dependent on the nakshatras, the what nakshatra the eclipse is taking place. So anyway, we will continue. Now, I'm going to give a brief introduction because for those of you who are completely new to the whole topic of nakshatras, everybody familiar with the nakshatras, or they're like drawing a complete blank? Can somebody, unmute and tell me?
Well, they can't unmute at the moment,
Oh, okay.
but they can put it in the chat.
Okay,
They
lovely.
can use the chat box, and so if in regards to the question, people, are you all? I take it there are some people here that are it's their first time. So yeah, Wendy's saying she's not familiar.
Okay,
Anita's saying total blank. So yeah, there we go. Newbie from
lovely.
Ellen.
Okay,
So we're seeing
fantastic.
it there.
Okay, thank you, Israel. So essentially, I think I will do little bit of an introduction. I don't want to spend too much because there are 27 fixed stars or constellations that are in use in the Vedic scheme, right? For those of you who want to learn more about the Vedic astrology, I have the beginners classes. They are welcome to join. It's by the grace and good fortune of for the Astrology Lodge of London. They do free classes. Yes, so you're welcome to join them. But anyway, coming back to the entire cosmology, the Vedic cosmology, the Lord Shiva is literally the head, and it's like the source of all the knowledge that is on this planet and beyond. And this is from one of the Upanishad texts. Upanishads and the Vedas are sort of like the most oldest texts known to man. And sitting on the ground near the banyan tree were all the munis or the sages who were near to the bestower of knowledge, who are sitting near to the guru of the three worlds, the Lord himself personified as Dakshina Murti, who expert in severing the sorrows resulting from the cycles of birth and death. I bow down to Dakshinamurti. So here you see Dakshinamurti is a form of Shiva, and he is the giver of all the knowledge there is on this planet and beyond, and of all the things beyond the universe. And here you can see in the imagery there are these rishis or the munis or the great seers. They are like they forecast, they are the forecasters on this planet, and they are sitting at his feet. And here you can see that they are always wanting to get knowledge of all kinds from him, including the knowledge to be able to see the past, present, and the future, which is nothing but Vedic astrology, but which is a vast science, and also the knowledge of plants and things like that. Now, what you need to understand is the Vedic science is a highly integrated and refined, highly sophisticated system. It is not just about looking at a bunch of planets. And as we will come to a few slides down the line, you will realize that how it is linked with beyond the cosmos, beyond the solar system. Now, here we see again another imagery of Lord Shiva is in the form of, again, Dakshinamurti Shiva, who is knowledge personified and who himself is conceived as meditating and sitting in the trunk of the Shammi tree. Now, the Shammi tree, he's often depicted between Shammi tree and the great banyan tree and various trees, and they are like thousands of years old. Even today in India, you can literally, it's listed, the banyan tree is very unique and very sacred. It is listed as one of the great trees, and one of the oldest trees, and some banyan tree is almost like thousands of years old. And you can see it among, if you google like old sacred trees, the oldest trees on the planet, banyan tree will come out very, very high. And here he's sitting a sort of like a pillar in the Shammi wood. That's the name of the tree. And Shammi has fire inside it. So these trees are not just random trees that you just plant. They are trees of great significance because they literally, because they have survived for so long, there are all kinds of invisible creatures, celestial creatures who reside in these trees, and they carry all the embodiment of the fire and all the elements, and they also carry the knowledge with them. So here, now in Jyotish, there is something known as Kalpa Vriksha. Sorry, it's not seen, but it's essentially the Kalpa Vriksha or Kalpa Taru or Kalpa Druma. These are the various synonyms of essentially the wish fulfilling divine tree which came out of the great Samudra Manthan, which is the churning of the ocean milk. It is one of the greatest episodes, and it basically, there were the devas, or the celestial gods on one side, and then there was on the other side there was the asuras on the other side, and they used the great serpent rope to churn the ocean because the devas were scared that the nectar of immortality, sorry, it says the nectar of mortality, sorry, typo, but this nectar of immortality and all the great grand goodies that are going to come out of the ocean floor, they wanted to keep it for themselves so that they could defeat the demonic forces on earth and beyond, and especially the asuras. And this particular tree is one of the great wish fulfilling trees which came out of the ocean floor while they were churning the ocean, amongst other things, including the Vedas and including um, the great Ayurveda, the great celestial physicians, and Kamdhenu, the wish fulfilling cow, who not only through her products of milk and everything, she is like the products that she gives were sustainable for the entire humanity. So, such is the power of this particular nectar of immortality and not mortality. Anyway, coming back to the tree thing, if you can recall, you may be familiar with this particular place. It's called Bodh Gaya in India, and this is where Gautam Buddha, or the great spiritual teacher, got his enlightenment. And there is a plaque you can see here. It mentions about the Bodhi tree. which is nothing but the old people tree, and it is still exists. So you can well imagine that the power it has in terms of anyone who goes towards that tree and sort of just sits down to meditate around that. And you can see here, in fact, people and monks meditating there. How powerful will this sadhana, this kind of meditation, how the depth it has, how powerful it will be. And this is the power trees have, because they are still, they cannot move, they can be there for thousands of years, and so they imbibe all the qualities and the properties of the soil and the earth. It's a bit like the Gaia, they are the earth. So moving forward, again in the battle, those who are not familiar, Mahabharata was a great epic. And in that epic, it is described that golden jars full to the brim with water, and those made of copper and earth, and copper, silver, and earth, and flowers, and fried paddy, and kusha grass. This is a particular kind of grass, and cow's milk, and sacrificial fuel consisting of wood of shammi. Again, we see the references to the name shammi, and pipala, and palash, and honey, and clarified butter for the sacrificial ladles made of adumvara, and conches adorned with gold, were all. This is like a great beautiful ceremony, like a fire ceremony people do. And this happened during Mahabharata, when Yudhishthir, you can see it in the imagery here by a great artist, Ravi Raj Varma. And he depicts the Mahabharata is nothing but like a huge fight, and a Mahabharata is like the great celestial fight about India, about the Indian continent, where it took place. And it is a fight between 100 evil brothers and five great quality and great spiritual qualities of five brothers, their cousins. And typically after the fight, which is the Bhagavad Gita, written by Lord Krishna, was the offshoot of that. And here, after that, Yudhishthir was the eldest brother, and he's crowned there. He's like the Dharmaraja, the great warrior king who follows the righteous path of truth. And again, in India, like pujas and havans and ceremonies have got very strong yantra and tantra value. Tantra is nothing but magic, any kind of manifestation, anything to remove evil, anything to get things done which is troubling you. Often do an havan. Now havan is or homam they call it, or pujas they call it, with fire ceremony, because fire is extremely sacred. And that's when you put in all these little grass, the kusa grass, the palash, and all these various very sacred barks of tree, dried barks of tree. But they're not random barks of tree, they're very specific bark of trees. um, Moving forward, this is what a typical havan looks like. It's like a manifestation ceremony used with twigs of wood, but they're not random twigs of wood, they are very pious twigs of wood. And in Garud Purana, which is another one of the celestial texts, there is a mention of the ritual use of plants. Again, twigs of arka, palasha, khadira, apamarga, pipala. We come to pipala again, udumbara, shammi, and blades of durva. These are all dried, and they are used for ceremonial purposes. And again, like I said, they are for manifestation purposes. Moving forward, Durva grass is often, as you can see, it's as old as the hills. Durva grass is a favorite of um, Lord Ganesh. And you can see here, he's a great remover of all obstacles. Any problems, any obstacles you have, Lord Ganesh is the first go-to remedy. That's why in Rig Veda and any of the Vedic sort of ceremonies, or any pujas, or any kind of sadhana that we do, the prayers that we offer, it is always Lord Ganesha is always addressed like almost first and or second in line, because he is the overseer of our life on earth. So any obstacles in your life, Lord Ganesha is the first go to option. And there is no better way to worship or have a, is than having materials, or donating, or kind of, getting hold of dried durva grass, or even there's a variation, botanical variation, it's called the kusha grass. They both are essentially quite close, but they are used for, it's his favorite one. Now you may well ask, what's the big deal about this? This particular grass, if you plant it in your garden, or even in a little pot by your patio, it has great powers of rejuvenation. And it is a very sacred grass. And it is mentioned in one of the oldest Vedas, the Rig Vedas. They say that all the when there was a big fight, including in the Mahabharata, they created weapons and nooses, as you can see here in the imagery. They created nooses because the grass is so sharp, it can act as a great weapon, and it can literally kill. And yet it has also great recuperative properties, and it's fantastic rejuvenation. So these are the things that we give in offerings to Lord Ganesh, to get rid of some of your obstacles in life. Here again, the Bhagavad Gita mentions about what kind of, for meditation purposes, if you want to sit and or just kind of be calm, especially during eclipse times, are very powerful times for manifestation. But the only way you can manifest is to, while the eclipse is on, you need like a mat to sit on. This mat is often use of durva grass. That is what it's made of. You can see it in the picture here. This has been in use for thousands of years. It takes away the negativity in the environment. It takes away the negativity of the eclipse energy, or for that matter, any energy. A lot of people are allergic to Wi-Fi and things like that. I don't know if people are very sensitive to the 5G energies, and often it is said that the durva grass, like little sort of even having like a few sprigs of dried durva grass, will take away the energy of the 5G, or all the negative stuff of the 5G. So such is the power of this grass. So never underestimate it. It is very I think these grasses can be ordered online, as well as you can have a real plant to grow in your greenhouse or in your conservatory. Or you can get a mat here, which is very powerful. As Lord Krishna says, it is for meditation. One should sit on his or own seat, which is neither too high or low, covered with the sacred kush grass, deer skin, and a cloth, one over the other in a clean area. And that's when the meditation is very, very powerful. Um, and often, if you if there is death in the family, it is said, and in India, there is a big belief that if you die during the period of Panchak death. Now, you may well ask, what is a Panchak death? Well, Panchaka is the last few degrees. I think it's like last 13, 14 degrees of I think it's last five nakshatras of Pisces. So supposing moon is transiting the last 10, 20 degrees of Pisces, then it is called, and somebody passes away during that time, it is called it is meant to be very evil, because no, after the passing away of that person, during that period when the moon is transiting those degrees, it is supposed to be very evil, because after within a year, five or more family members can die. And that is why, provided if you have not done the rituals, if you have done the rituals, and one of the big ritual is done is to take away the negativity of the panchak period when somebody passes away. Those are the five last degrees of Pisces, is when you create little straws. You make take the straws, the dried grass of kusha, and make little dolls with it. And that's where, and you offer it to Lord Vishnu, because remember, it is also, it is said, it is also akin to the hair of Lord Vishnu. So this will take away the negativity, and you will be subverted. Now, Panchaka death is a very serious phenomena in India. I don't know if you are aware of it, but I think it's I will check up the exact degrees and put it, you know, in the chat box. But essentially, the last five nakshatras which fall in Pisces, last five, yeah, last two, or let me just check. I think it's last couple of nakshatras of Pisces. Then that's when you are under that trouble period. And if death of any of your members of the family does occur, then it's supposed to be very inauspicious. Now, we all know a little bit about the trilogy. The Hindu trilogy is about Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, right? Or Rudra. Now, this is an ancient, antique imagery going on here. So it's very pretty. Now, Brahma, of course, is the creator. And here, we can see, we can see Brahma as a creator holding the Vedas. And here, the Nabhi, Vishnu Nabhi, that this is Vishnu on the great celestial ocean with all the serpents, the great Sheshnag. And he's always depicted like this. And he is literally, he maintains the universe. But another form of Vishnu is Narayana as well as Shiva. And he literally is, you can call it the source, the creator who creates the entire cosmos. And he also entrusts Brahma to create, to get on with the creation process. And eventually, Brahma is assisted by the Prajapatis. So Brahma is not creating all the human beings and entire world directly by himself. He entrusts the creation process over to the Prajapatis. And here you can see that the Brahma is created. He always sits on the lotus, and there is great significance in that. And he is also connected to the navel of Lord Vishnu. And that's how all the creation process takes place. And Saraswati is, of course, the great deity, his consort of she's a consort of Lord Brahma. And she again is depicted on sitting on the lotus, the white lotus with the peacocks and the swans. And she is the giver of all the knowledge, all the sound. And she is instrumental in bringing forth through the five elements every single manifestation on earth, including human beings. And there is Saraswati again, comes together as Savitur, the giver of light and sound, and it creates one of the oldest prayer or mantra chant. It is from the Rig Veda. It is a 24 syllable Gayatri mantra. I don't know if how many of you are familiar with it, but it is one of the oldest prayers known to man. And it is also one of the most sacred. It is said just by uttering the Gayatri mantra, all the evils will disappear. Your intelligence will work to the utmost level. And it is one of the greatest prayers known to man. And it was given by Maharshi, great sage Vishwamitra, and it is, of course, extensively mentioned in the Rig Veda. The Gayatri mantra is interesting because it begins with the Om, which we all know is one of the oldest and the primordial sounds. We also know, and now when the solar flares, when the sounds of the cosmos, including the solar flares, which has been recorded by NASA team, they have found that it resonates with the sound of Om. So Om indeed is like one of the really most primordial sounds ever. And along with that, there are the Mahavyahritis also that are a part of the great Gayatri mantra, which is, and they are nothing but the mystical utterance sounds, which is Bhuva, Bhuva, Swa, Maha, Jana, Tapa, and Satyam. These are the seven great sounds. So, what is the significance and why am I talking about these sounds? Here, she is again, here we see the giver of Gayatri, who's the deity is Savitur, which is nothing but another form of Saraswati. And here we see that Hom Bhu, Hom Bhuva, Hom Swa, Hom Maha, Hom Jana, Hom Tapa, Hom Satyam, Hom Tatsavitur Varenyam, Bhargo Devasya Dhimai, Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayat. That literally, those are the two lines which make up the great Gayatri mantra. And this is always, people in India especially, it is a very fortunate to have children aged between 9 to 13 to be initiated into the Gayatri mantra, because that sets you up for life. It tells you that your intelligence then will work in a very fine manner, and whatever karmas that you're meant to do this lifetime, you can do it and then get rid of it and then move to better times. That literally is the import behind having this prayer. And these vyarthis, or the utterances or the mystical sounds, the first set, there are seven of them in number, and they resonate with the seven absolute chakras, or the lokas, or the seven worlds that map into the human body. We all have heard of the chakras, right? We were all familiar with the chakras. And of course, the chakras are not just, they are a great, phenomenal energy vortexes. When they are activated, they take you out of your body to other realms and other worldly realms, which are above the earth. Which is, earth is here at Bhuloka, which is literally at the Swadhisthana. Then we come to the Bhuva Loka, then the Swarga Loka, the Mahar Loka, which is in the Rit Chakra, which is somewhere near Anahata, which is like the heart chakra. And then we have the Janar Loka, which is the Vishuddhi chakra, then the Tapar Loka, and then finally the Sahasrara chakra, which is the Satya Loka. So literally all of these sounds, the seven sounds, Hom Bhuva, Hom Bhuva, Hom Swa, they map into these chakras, which eventually go take you into, and these lokas, or the worldly realms of consciousness, otherworldly realms of consciousness, they exist. They are not fabrication of somebody. They literally do exist. We know that. We will find out how we know all of these. Then we have the other kind of below us, below the Swadhisthana. That is, when we go down our legs, they literally map into the seven hells, below the surface of the earth. The Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Talatala, Rasatala, Mahatala, and Patala. These are all where they're kind of synonymous with little bit of hells and difficulties. This is where the great serpents and the nagas, or the the other ghastly creatures and snake energy is abundant in. So this is the view of, and that is the, and this spread, these seven little bua bua, they map into these worlds which are elevated worlds above us. Now, we also have the magical number of seven is pretty interesting, because in the Vedic scheme, if you remove Rahu and Ketu, we have the seven great planets, okay? The seven planets, inner planets and the outer one. We do not consider the outer planets, Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto, only because within this pantheon and their upagrahas, that is their little baby planets and their baby assistants, each of these planets have their own sort of planets. Within this scheme, there is like a vast amount of information we can get. We don't need Uranus, Pluto, and even when you use it, it's because these planets cannot be viewed with the naked eye. They have no influence on us, right? They have absolutely no influence. And hence, the influence is only there on a very wide collective level. That is the Vedic view, anyway. So now we will see that the seven sages, or the four great saints before them, the 14 Manus, are all born from my mind. From them, all the people in the world have descended. That is the Sapta Rishis, and this comes from straight from the Bhagavad Gita, this particular shloka, and chapter 10 verse 6. And here you can see the imagery here. So Sapta Rishis, or the seven great seers, they have the knowledge of the past, present, future, everything. They literally are instrumental in bringing forth the knowledge of Dakshinamurti Shiva, and they bring it down to humanity. And here you can see up in the Himalayas, there is even a Saptarishi Kund, as they call it, the lake of the Saptarishis, which is very, very inaccessible. You cannot, there are no hotel, none of that is there. It is accessed with great difficulty, only on foot, and to the really keen traveler. Not anybody, not any, just because you're good at trekking doesn't mean you can land up there. It is not. It is very, very mystical place, very sacred, and high up in the Himalayas, and of absolute pristine beauty. So here you can see that this is called their lake. And often it is said that at Brahma Muhurta, at the wee hours of the sunrise, 48 minutes before is called the Brahma Muhurta, where all the sages, the celestial sages, wake up. Their energy is very, very strong, and they are meant to be here. They are often sort of heard there, because everything in Vedic cosmology is all about the sound. Hence the power of sound, mantras, which affect your chakra system. Okay, now the Vedas, little bit about the Vedas, the Rig Veda, the Yajur Veda, Sam Veda, and Athar Veda. Here Lord Brahma is the holder of the Vedas. Often he's depicted in one hand, the lotus. He's sitting on a lotus flower and he's holding the Vedas. Now, you may well ask, what's the big deal about the Vedas? Well, all the knowledge, like for example, the Rig Veda, all the hymns that we just saw, especially the Gayatri Mantra, comes from the Rig Veda. It is absolutely the most auspicious. Any kind of problems, any kind of in your life, the Gayatri Mantra will give you the focus. And similarly, there are thousands and thousands of mantras in Rig Veda, and they all resonate. They are all written, of course, in Sanskrit, and they all resonate with certain chakras. And there are many, many millions of combinations. There is mantras for getting rid of a man, there is a mantra for getting a man. There is a mantra for getting rid of your enemy. There is a mantra for killing somebody. There is a mantra for getting twins. There is, like, you name it, and there is a mantra available. And of course, this is part of a great shastra or body of knowledge, and it is of course not going to be accessible to everyone unless you study with a great guru or a particular tantric guru, whether it's tantra, which is sort of like, it can be a little bit, tantra is nothing but like the Indian magical system. So, and then we have the Yajurveda, which is the knowledge of the sacrificial formulas or liturgy, and it has a midday energy, just like the Rig Veda has got a very strong Surya or sun energy, and it's recited at sunrise. Similarly, Yajurveda has got all the sacrificial formulas of how to build buildings, ancient temples, architecture, all of that comes also under Yajurveda, along with other formulas and other mantras. Then we have the Sam Veda. This is where the Kali resides in. This is the knowledge of the melodies for chanting and singing at sunset. It is said the death conquering mantra, the Mahamrutyunjay mantra, is given by the Sam Ved, and it is meant to be sung in the evening. This is one of the most powerful um, mantras. And and then we have the Atharveda. So between Samveda and Atharveda, lot of the knowledge of, let's say, Ayurvedic system, medicine system, a lot of now, when we talk of the Ayurveda and medicine, we of course are talking about the entire plant kingdom. I mean, everything about the plants, flowers, you name it, comes under that category. So all that falls under the Atharveda, including Jyotish. Jyotish comes somewhere between Yajurveda and Atharveda. So in fact, Jyotish or Vedic astrology is literally comes under all of them, because there are references in the Puranas. Everything is astrological in nature in India. Everything, it's all very highly connected, highly sophisticated science. Now, here we have, this is the sun god or the Surya. He also has the seven horses, the seven horses, the colored horses, which is akin to the seven colors of the rainbow. Now, you may say, oh my God, again, he's got like, wow, the sun god, again, the number seven has turned up again. Like we had the seven sages, then we have the seven weekday planets too. What did I say? The seven weekday planets is what we use, where they use. If you remove the nodal axis, which is the north node of the moon, which is Rahu, and the south node of the moon, which is Ketu, because they are literally not body planets. They don't particularly have like a body which you can see. They are like imaginary points. So these are akin to the seven tongues of fire. And here you can see the Surya Devta, the Surya, in its glory, and absolutely like phenomenal. Without the sun, we would be nowhere. We all know that. So it is giving us the seven weekday planets, which maps into each of the planets. Each of the seven planets maps into the 7 weekdays, which is obvious. So in Vedic structure, we begin our planets like Sunday. We always begin our weekday with Sunday. It's ironic that it's a bit like the Jewish people. They often have Saturday, they take a break, they do not work on Saturday, and then they're working on a Sunday, which is very similar to the Indian cosmology, because Sunday is the sun. Why would you want to start the week on a Monday, which is ruled by the moon, which has got the night energy? It has the stars energy. When you are here on earth, you need the sun, you need the Agni, you need the fire, because you need to work, you need to earn money, you need your health, which is all coming from the sun. And hence the weekday the weekday planets act as if, it's going to give you the source of fire. It is your source of Agni. It is your source of the sun. It is your source of your wealth. So, for example, how is this relevant to you? Think about what day of the week you are born, and then you will know that particular planet will have a crucial effect on your well being, on your money, on your energy levels, on everything. Okay, so but that is beyond discussion because we are not going to get into how to activate that planet and what it means, and that's a separate topic altogether. But here, the if you put like a beam of bright light and split it into through a prism and split it, it changes form into Vibgyor, the seven colors of the rainbow. And it gives, in Jyotish we have this eight charakarakas, which is like you add the Vibgyor, all the seven colors, plus you have an eighth element, which is called the Rahu, which is why we link it to karma. The nodal axis is heavily linked with our karma and what we do this lifetime. And hence, all kinds of karma that we do this lifetime comes under the charakarakas. But that is, again, like I said, beyond people. Students who are here will understand what I'm talking about. So again, because each of these planets which are mapped to the colors of the rainbow, they carry a particular karma. They have a karmic influence on you. And looking at a chart, you can easily say what kind of karma they carry specifically, because they have a particular charakaraka. They signify a particular aspect of your life. Now, so again, this beam of light splits into, and then that is how you get the chakras, and that is how you get the five primary elements. Again, I don't want to delve too much into it, but this is to show you how, from a beam of light, from an Agni, from a fire, you have come all the way, and it has created your body with the help of Brahma and Saraswati and the Prajapatis and all the knowledge you need to sustain it through the sages or the Sapta Rishis, the seven sages. Now, this is where we go into a little bit about the zodiac and the the terminologies that I'm going to use, because the sidereal zodiac is a little bit, and the view of the sidereal zodiac is philosophically significantly different to the Western philosophy or Western zodiac. Here, the North Star or the Pole Star is the brightest star in the constellation of Ursa Minor. We know that. And it is very close to the North Celestial Pole, making it the current northern pole star. So here you can see that this is, how from Earth, from a geocentric position, it is, this I got from Wikipedia. You can see that this is the mappings of the star. But in Sanskrit, the pole star or the North Star has, of course, moved since thousands and thousands of years a little bit. But here it is called Dhruva. Dhruva in Sanskrit literally means the bright one. And in Mahabharata, he's the son of Uttapada and grandson of Manu. Manu is like one of the first creations of Lord Brahma, first human beings of Lord Brahma, a bit like Adam in Christianity. And even though Polaris at the likely period, epic of Mahabharata, was still several degrees away from the celestial pole. So the entire, view of the solar system and including the Earth, we see it vis-a-vis the pole star. It's almost like, think of it like I am connected through, if I pull my hair, then I'm connected, I'm tilting to one side and I'm connected to a invisible, far, far away, a polar star called Dhruv, or the northern pole star, or it's called the Polaris. So think of it this way. So anything, so I'm literally tuned in. I have like a hotline connection, right, magnetically pulling me towards that star. And this particular star is beyond the solar system, as we see here, that these stars, set of stars, is where the nakshatras reside. And they is also the place where all the great celestial rishis reside. And the core seven rishis, and it's mapped here in the stars on the constellations. Each of these rishis, or the sages who carry the entire knowledge, are mapped here on the fixed star constellations. And here it is seen that they are all going in a boat when the earth destroys itself after every pralay, or after every big chunk of time. The entire earth gets completely destroyed, and there is only one person, it's called the Matsya avatar, takes away the great celestial fish avatar, takes all of them, puts them together, and brings them towards the pole star. Now, we saw earlier about the Bhuva Loka, our life on earth, where Bhu, home, Bhu, Bhuva, Swaha, the first three um, the syllables or the sacred sounds of the mantra, of the Gayatri mantra, which map, the first three sounds map into our life on earth, the Bhuloka. In Sanskrit, earthly plane is called the Bhuloka. And the Bhuloka is a solar system that is as viewed from the earth towards the heavens. And the Swargaloka is somewhere along the Milky Way, which is the heavens where all the great gods reside. And it is absolutely beautiful. But there is another world beyond that, which goes all the way into the stars, extends from the Milky Way and beyond, which is where the nakshatras come into the picture. And here we have, this is again, like I said, I mentioned earlier that when there is a mass destruction of the solar system, including the earth, the Matsya avatar, this is the great avatar of the fish avatar who can travel through any kind of ocean. He puts all the great sages in a boat and takes them towards the Dhruva, the Polaris star. So now, each of these great sages get mapped into the planetary system. They are the father, or the creators, or the overseers of each of the planets. Now, the nodes play a very vital role because they also carry our very significant karma. And if you want to get out of our miserable life on earth here and stop the endless cycle of birth and rebirth, then we have to move towards Ketu, whose sage is Sage Narada Muni. And he is a great sage. He has the ability to travel in a blink of an eye from one constellation to another world, to the heavens, to the earth, within a blink of an eye. That's his great ability. And he is the overseer of Ketu, the south node of the moon. And that gives us all our spiritual energy, all our spiritual searching and seeking energy, while Rahu is like a beast with a big head, and he wants to keep eating and eating and consuming and consuming. But as long as we keep consuming, we will not be able to, we will be born again here on earth, or maybe depending on what the karmas we did, or the negative karmas we did, we may be born even in the talas, that is, earlier you saw the hells below our feet, so below the earth's surface. So we may just be born there and spend some hundreds of years over there before coming back onto the earth. Um, so again, this whole because of the dhruv, the polar star, where all the, especially the earth, is resonating with, or it's like a magnetic, it's pulling towards it. All planets circumambulate, literally they do parikrama, that is they move round and round and round, including the sun, along to literally the dhruv star, for which is connected to Vishnu's navel. That is the navel of Vishnu, which we saw earlier. And the sun basically is magnetically poised. So, hence, 12,000 years of descending, moving away from Vishnu's navel, which is nothing but the Dhruv, the polar star, and 12,000 in ascension. So, if you add them up, you approximately get a cycle of 25,765 precessional years. And that is nothing but the zodiac, the sidereal zodiac. And that is why the sidereal zodiac is mapped to the nakshatras, because the stars are beyond our solar system. They are following the dhruv, the Polaris star. They are not anywhere near the solar system. Uh, while the tropical or the western zodiac is literally stops at the solar system. It doesn't go beyond it, because the system is mapped to the movement of the sun and the seasons and things like that. But here we are not here to discuss that. Now, the moon approximately takes 27 one third, this little bit of astronomy, to circle the whole zodiac. And the whole zodiac is nothing but split into 360 degrees. We already know that. And so each nakshatra is nothing, if you divide it by 27 constellations, or 27 days, you can say, it comes to 13 degrees 20 minutes, giving us the size of each nakshatra or the fixed star. So the shortfall, this is beyond discussion. The shortfall of one third of the day is used to define the 28 nakshatra scheme, which is the Abhijit nakshatra, which is akin to the mandala, the meditation, the nakshatra mandala, akin to the 108 japa mala. That is, often you may see monks and a lot of spiritual people carrying the mala, the necklace for prayer beads, which has got 108 beads. 108 beads is an extremely powerful, phenomenal numeral in the Vedic cosmology. And here we have the 27 nakshatras into each of the four portions divided in, which create the 108 portions of the zodiac. So literally, you're taking all the 12 signs, and each of the 12 signs, you're superimposing it on the nakshatras, which are beyond. And that is how you get the nakshatra. And and there are definitive rules of why certain planets exalts in one and debilitates in one, because we derive the sidereal zodiac from the nakshatras, and not from the seasons, or from the months, as it is in western. Now, in the fixed star lunar the literally the meaning of the nakshatra, which is nothing but the fixed stars or the lunar constellations, they form the fundamentals, of course, in Jyotish. And it is called, it's made up of three Sanskrit word. Na is a protection in the night, something that tra is protection, like an umbrella, and it doesn't decay or disintegrate. So essentially, anytime you want protection for your moon sign, it is not the sign that your moon is in that you go to. It is the nakshatra or the fixed star it is in that will give you the remedy for all your woes and your problems. Now, here again, this is an imagery we will be covering in the next few sessions, next couple of sessions. Each of these here, for example, Aries constellation has got one nakshatra, which is Ashwini, which is 13.20 degrees, Bharani, which is 13.2 degrees, and a portion, one pada or one section or portion of Kritika. That is how you see the fixed stars. And that is how you see the sidereal, the Aries is superimposed on this. And that is, and so on and so forth. So each of these um, are superimposed on the fixed stars, and so on and so forth. As we go along, I will mention it. So we will be covering the deities and the mythology associated with each, including the tree. Now you may well, let's move forward. I don't want to keep reiterating this, because this is a little bit of the math, totaling 9 quarters, because each of the nakshatras again splits up into the 9 padas and things like that, 4 padas. So each zodiac sign has got 9 quarters, of course. And again, you can do the math here, um, but let's move forward. Now, here again is a description of the Ashwini, each of these nakshatras, the first 5. The 4 padas is nothing but the quarter. And then you have the sign, that is, Aries has got a portion of Kritika, Bharani's 4 sections, and Ashwini's 4 sections. And each of these nakshatra has got a rulership and a deity association and a tree association or a plant association. And this is where the great remedy comes from. Because anytime you have, let's say, Saturn transiting your moon sign, or Saturn aspecting your moon sign, or Saturn over your ascendant, then it is not, what you need to worship is the tree, or have the energy of the tree into your home, as in the plant, of course, not the tree. You can't have the whole tree. The plant in your home, or have an imagery of that plant or a tree, or alternately, definitely the imagery of the deity. Okay, let's move forward, so on and so forth. I can put this up as a handout for you guys if anybody wants it, and then they can study further. But here, each of the sounds are also associated. So let's say you have moon in Ashwini, okay? Let's say in the first 13 degrees of Aries. Then you can, even the sounds, you can, your name can be, you can name your company, or you can name your any kind of a project, or you simply chanting the name of this, like che che che. Let's say it's in the second section of the Aries. Then you can do that similarly, so on and so forth. Now this is a very, in India, often children are named after their particular nakshatra, that is, your moon constellation is in. Or alternatively, you can even do a rising sign constellation, but for that you need a pretty exact time. Okay, so this is, again, you can move on from there. Somewhere along here, you have your moon will be falling in. Again, I can put this in, and you can search and research further on, and come prepared, so that I know that you know that where your moon constellation is. If you do not know your moon constellation, you can go on my website, circleofdivineastrology.com. You can find, it's for free software. You can find your constellations for all the planets. Okay, now the first, let's say, let's begin with the first one, and then I will have to stop, because we are up for time. The first constellation is nothing but Ashwini. Ashwini is the first star, as we have seen here. This is 0 degrees to 13 degrees Aries. The ruler of it is Ketu, or the south node of the moon. And these are the different sounds associated with Ashwini. Now, what is the significance of Ashwini, and what does it mean when they say it is your Janma Tara? Tara in Sanskrit means your star. So, Ashwini will behave as if it is your moon constellation. So, whatever characteristics of Ashwini that I'm going to give you will be similar to the healing power that Ashwini has. So, for example, your moon may not even be in Ashwini. Let's say your moon is in Sagittarius, in, let's say, Uttara Ashada, right? Let's say in a fixed star of Uttara Ashada. But because it is your natal moon sign, it will behave, it will give you all the power that Ashwini has. Ah, so that means it has all the powers. It has the power to give you every single thing: longevity. It has the power to heal you on your body level. It has the power to heal you on a mind level, because the moon is the karaka of your mind and your body. The tree associated with that particular constellation, meditating on that plant, if you have it within your home, that little plant in a pot, or if you're lucky enough, you can have it, you can plant a tree in your garden, or the imageries of it. Like, you really can't have a banyan tree in your home, in your garden. It's impossible, especially in the western tropical sorry, non-tropical climes, in the western hemisphere, a northern hemisphere. And all that will be very conducive to your well-being. And it will, if you nurture the plant and nurture the it's almost like you're nurturing your own moon star. So the first, we will just little bit cover about Ashwini, and then we will stop. Ashwini's 0 degrees to 13 degrees. It's the most healing nakshatra. It has a power of giving sight to the blind. It makes you youthful, gives speedy remedies, because it is ruled by the celestial physicians, the twin physicians, who are the sons of the Surya, or the sun. And they have literally, they are the physicians to the gods, and they are twins. That means, and they have the heads of the horses, and they are not ordinary horses. They are like the horses akin to the power of the sun god, which we saw earlier. And Ashwa literally means horse in Sanskrit, and Vini means dual, and Kumar means boy. So the Ashwin Kumars are the celestial physicians. That is the deity. So if you have moon in Ashwini, let's say, between 0 and 13 degrees of Aries, that means you can easily put a big picture or an image of the Ashwin Kumars in at your desk or wherever in your home, and this will have a remarkable effect on you. And they are the twin gods with horse heads who practice the divine art of medicine and healing, and they also rule Ayurvedic medicine. And naturally, like the horses, their gift lies in fast and swift movement in regards to the remedies. So these are very definitive healing power they have, right? So because it is the first nakshatra, this is why any nakshatra, your moon nakshatra, it doesn't have to be in Ashwini, but if it is, let's say, let's say in Scorpio, then that particular nakshatra will have its own core qualities. Plus, it will have the power of healing just as Ashwini has. And that is what I'm saying. It is like the first, it will behave like it's your star. It's like Ashwini. It will give you its power of healing. That means it has the quality of bringing youthful vigor. Now, why youthful vigor? We will see. Here, Ashwini is born out of the union of Sun and his wife Sanjana when they were in the form of a stallion and a mare. Now, this is a bit strange, stallion and mare, but I will cover this next time. The story behind it is pretty remarkable. They are the lords of speed, swift rivers, falcons of light, riders of fleet horse, agile, brilliant, and Rigveda says speed is their forte. They bounce off walls of heaven with rush of energy like young, speedy, crazed horses. Now, any of you who are in Ayurveda or any of the tonics, healthy tonics, complementary medicines would have heard of the word Chuan Prash. It is coming from Rishi Chuana, and he got married to Sukanya, the daughter of King Sharayati. And given his advanced age, he was not able to perform in bed. So he went to the Ashwin Kumars and he asked, and they came up with a great concocted divine medicine, which came to be known as Chwanprash, and which had like some 80 or 90 herbs mixed together in a particular ratio. And that gave him renewed his youth and vigor, and he was of course able to perform in bed. So there's a strong element of sexual performance also associated with Ashwini, and hence the Chuan Prash. And in India, it is a very common tonic. You find it everywhere. People have it every day. It's given to children for health, well-being. It's like a multivitamin tonic, but it's made from natural herbs, over 80 to 90 natural herbs. And that is why it is because of the Ashwin Kumars, this healing power came about in the form of Chuan Prash. So this gives us a vital clue about the healing power of the very first nakshatra, or Ashwini. Okay, so um maybe we should cover Israel. Shall we do this next time?
Yes, I mean it's 7 minutes to 10 now.
No,
I
no,
know.
it's too late.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine, and I do apologize to everybody. I know we had somewhat of a special guest with Jessica Adams, and that's why we went overtime. I actually even was told off last week by an attendee that I'm letting it go overtime. So I've promised myself to try and rein it a bit more. But sometimes that can be a little bit difficult.
Absolutely.
So
I'm
I do
sorry about
apologize for
that.
that. But for those of you, if you wish to attend next week, again, Sonal is going to be giving us the part 2 and also the part three the week after that. Sorry, just to let you know, there is no lectures next week because we have a bank holiday over here in London, UK. So we will be back on the 7th of June. That will be our next one. Also, I wanted to also just let you guys know that I'll share the screen with you guys now. That on September the 4th, we also have Coffee and Crime. You probably will be getting emails about it, where we've got Wanda Seller, we've got Santiago, we've got Jill Doran, and we've got Lucian, who's going to be speaking about different aspects of Coffee and Crime. So please, sign up. You don't have to sign up right now, but I think early bird, there's a special price for the early bird. Early bird, £20. So it does say there. It's all there on the website. And so Santiago is going to be talking about fame and infamy. And we've also got Joe Doran, if I can go back.
Can I also take some questions?
Yes. Let me allow people. So people, you can unmute yourselves if you wish. And if you wanted to ask some quick questions just before we finish. But the Coffee on Crime is going to be taking place on September the 4th. It's still a way away, but just to let you know, and I will be plugging it again closer to the time. But our next talk will be on the 7th of June.
Okay, so thank you, Anita. That is, yeah, it's a readily available Chwan Prash in India. Absolutely, you know.
Yeah, you can get it in Indian shops. It only costs about £4 or £5. It's just like a paste. You can have it, on a spoon or dissolve it in milk. But
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah,
very good.
absolutely. But the really good one, there's like an organic version of it. It costs quite a bit. It's like 20-30 quid, you know. And they've got like a silver foil and all kinds of crazy stuff, you know. But yeah, like everything else, you know, the purer, the better it is, the more expensive it is. Yeah.
And Sona, do you want to put your website in? Because Marie's asking, what is the website? I believe she's asking for your website where people can go and they can check their
Yeah, I'm putting it
nakshatra.
in.
So you can post that as well.
Yeah.
So it'll be there in the chat, people.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, circleofdivineastrology.com, and yeah, just Google it. Get on the YouTube channels on the beginners classes for Jyotish, because there's lots happening there. If you guys want some kind of references or remedies, and you know, join in for the thing. But it's unfortunate that we couldn't cover the trees, but there's going to be like loads of, you know, the trees are and plants are extremely powerful remedy. There's no way that you can underestimate the power of those, you know, especially if you plant it, you know. Depending on what your moon sign is, that particular tree.
So you will be able to share that with us next week. I get well, sorry, not
Yeah,
next week.
absolutely.
Sorry, not next week, but the next
7th of June.
next 7th of June. I have to keep saying that because
7th of June and 14th of June, I will be sharing.
Yeah.
So bring your fixed star constellation, your moon nakshatra along with you, so you know what I'm going to be talking about, and that deity is going to be absolutely crucial.
right.
Yeah, absolutely. Any questions?
I've got a question.
Yes, go on.
So, you mentioned about Ashwini being Aries, and then you started talking about Scorpio and saying even if your moon's in Scorpio, it's got this Ashwini resonance.
Yes.
Is that because of the Scorpio Aries connection? Yeah?
No. It has nothing to do with that. It's simple. I described Ashwini to you, how it has got the rejuvenating powers, how it's got the great recuperative powers, right? And because it's the very first nakshatra, very first, 0 degrees Aries to 13 Aries, so it has that energy. So wherever your moon constellation is, it doesn't matter what sign it is, and it just doesn't matter, it will carry that healing energy and all the healing that Ashwini can give, similar to that, plus its own properties it will have. So it's like works dual ways. Yeah.
So what, everybody's got this Ashwini energy in their moon, then doesn't matter what your moon is in.
Yeah, but provided they are able to trigger it, provided they are able to activate it, because it needs activation, you know.
Okay.
So for example, your moon, maybe let's say in Sagittarius, right? But it has huge buried capacity, like Sagittarius, let's say in the nakshatra of Purvashada, right? Now it has a lot of kind of you can recuperate just with that energy of Purva Ashada, but you have to tap into that. So it can heal you just like Ashwini can, provided you bring in the tree associated with Purva Ashada, you bring in the deity and you read about it and have, like, you know, do the mantra of associated with Apas Devta, which is the deity for Purva Ashada, because there is a definitive meaning what the Purva Ashada deity does and carries. And similarly, let's say if you have moon in Scorpio in Jyeshtha, you know, your power is of Indra, because that's your deity. You've got the fire of Indra, right? So anytime,
so it's good for us to work out where our moon is and then look at the gods that relate to it, the mantras, the different herbs and the different trees that relate to
and
the
the
moon.
trees. Yeah, but my focus is on the deity and the tree, because that has got the most punchiest thing it carries. You know, it's like it's got a heavy duty punch to it. Of course the sounds will have a great you go on my website, I've got a whole section on sounds for each and every nakshatra, and the quality, and the mantra is also there, so feel free to browse. But that mantra is very nice to have, like you can write it and have it at your desk, you know, have the deity at your desk, but they have huge recuperative properties. I mean, you can do wonders with that, you know, it will help you to manifest everything.
Okay, and now we also have a, I believe, Namala. I hope I'm pronouncing your
Yeah,
name correctly.
Nirmalya, yes.
Namalia, she wants to. She raised her hand, so I take it she's got a question.
Yes, Nirmalya, how are you?
I'm good, thanks, and you, Sonal. Thank you
Yeah.
for a lovely session.
Yeah.
I just want to know, if we have the tree, what do you do? How do you actually integrate it into your practice, or what do you actually do with it?
Okay, if you have the tree in your garden, obviously, then the ideal thing is to spend some time sitting there in silence, meditating, little bit of time being there. That is the best remedy. Like you saw in the picture earlier, the great Bodhi tree of Gautam Buddha, right? There were these monks who were just sitting there, and literally, you know, because Buddha got enlightenment under that tree. So this particular thing, a tree associated with your moon constellation, is going to absolutely trigger, it'll put you on a different spin altogether in terms of your consciousness. And you know, meditation power, for people often complain, oh, I can't meditate, you know, it's really difficult, this, that. Try it with that tree.
Great,
You
thank
know?
you.
Yeah. So, and also, even if you have a plant at home, it's great to water it, and you'll have start to cultivate a relationship with it. It's like self-love, you know, you'll start to absolutely love it.
Great, thank you.
I mean, for example, like my moon is in Punarvasu in Gemini, right? And I have at the bottom of my garden the bamboo, because that is the bamboo tree, and that is associated with it. I don't go very often and meditate there per se. I should actually, but ever since I planted it like few years ago, I just feel like, touch wood, but health wise, I feel so much better. It has really improved my health. So, you know, so those are some of the things you can do. Yeah.
Great stuff.
Thank you.
Any more questions before we wrap it up? It's gone 10. I know it's late for some of us, depending where we are on the planet.
Hi, Simon.
Some of us probably just waking up, some of us going to sleep. Yeah, there can be a few quick questions. Anything? No, doesn't seem like everybody seems to be happy with your presentation. Wonderful presentation, and I'm sure we're going to have a great 2 weeks following up. Somebody, I think Marie's asking, what tree is the most healing? Is it, well, could there be such a thing, or would it just
what
depend?
tree is most healing? The tree which is your moon constellation, your moon nakshatra. That will be most healing for you, because this is like a tailor-made remedy. It's not something like, for example, you know, we didn't continue further, but Ashwini tree is called, its tree associated with it is poison nut. That's highly poisonous. In fact, in the Western world, they often have a derivative of that tree, and they use it as to kill to kill mice and mice infestations, and it's used, one of the chemical components in that is used to kill mice and infestations of insects and things like that, and so it depends on what is conducive for you, what fits you, and that depends on your moon star. One, it's like one size doesn't fit all is the question. Is the really the key of that. Yeah. Did you see a ghost?
Yeah, I saw a ghost. Yeah.
Okay. So, anything else, guys?
So you don't have to have the actual tree in your garden. You could just have an image of the tree somewhere in your bedroom or your house. A photograph of the tree is just as healing.
Oh, absolutely. It will be healing, especially if it is something like a banyan tree, it's like, how can you bring that? Because I've got like alternatives for each and every one, for the Western, because Jean Elliott, a dear friend of mine, she helped me out with the genus and all that, the equivalent tree found in the Northern hemispheres. So you could have like a little plant, so it's not the exact one, but you could have like a little plant which mimics the same thing. But yeah, it is good to have a plant. I mean, of course, the plant is live, it's living, So, but in the absence of that, if you do have a tree, an image of a tree, that's absolutely powerful too.
And I think Wendy's asking, what form of Vedic astrology do you use to find your chart? South Indian. So I think that may be to do with maybe the type of chart, whether it's the diamond chart or the square chart.
Well, we use all three in our classes. I've taught all the students, all three of them. So I'm familiar with all three, the South Indian as well as the North Indian. But it doesn't matter what kind of chart is. Does that help you, Wendy?
Oh, she said great. She said yes, thank you. Yeah.
Are you familiar, Wendy, or with Western?
I think some people are maybe more Western, perhaps. Maybe I can't speak for everybody, but Helen is also asking, great talk. Is there somewhere we can find out which tree is for us? I believe that's what you'll be covering in the next talk. No?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
That's
so Helen, on the
main
7th,
thing
on the
for
7th
next
of June,
two
Helen,
talks.
we'll be going into that.
Yeah. So make sure you know even your ascendant fixed star as well as your moon fixed star. Here, the moon fixed star is of greater importance compared to your rising star. Okay. So the moon fixed star, because the moon is like your body, your mind, your everything, so the moon is got the huge capacity to heal in a huge way. And not just heal, like I'm not just talking of like body healing, I'm talking of like giving you the things that you want. It is said in Vedic astrology that the sun is your soul consciousness, but all the yogas and all the manifestations and combinations, the sun can start it off for you, but only the moon will sustain it. And if the moon doesn't like you or is kind of what's the word, it's not in favor of you or the particular combinations or yogas, then nothing will stick with you. You may do something great, but then it's like fly by night, it's gone tomorrow. So for sustenance of anything, of any achievement, of any manifestation, you definitely need the moon sign to be in favor of you, to favor you rather.
Okay. I believe Marie's also asking, do you do personal readings and how much? Maybe that may be something you may have to discuss in private. So
yeah, okay, that
if you
you
go
have
to
to
the
go on the
website,
website, Marie, please. you know, it's on the all on the website. Go to the lodge website. It's there too. You can link up to my email from the lodge Jyotish, from the beginners Vedic astrology classes. So
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay, guys. Let's call it an
okay.
evening. It's been a great night, long night.
Yeah, I
Thank you very
bet.
much for
I bet.
attending.
Lots
Just to
of
let you know,
classes.
there's no lectures next week. We'll be back on the 7th of June, and yeah, we shall be taking it from there.
Yeah. Hi, Jill. Hi, Simon. It's
Thank you.
Hi.
yeah, you're welcome.
Got a few questions, but I'll email you.
I bet. I was thinking of you when I was doing the cosmology and the Dhruv, the Polaris, and all that.
Yeah, definitely. That's why.
I knew it. I was thinking, I wonder what Jill is going to say on this. You know?
Yeah, no. Yeah, there's some things I kind of agreed with, and some things I've got different opinions on. So, yeah,
Interesting.
yeah, very interesting.
You and your historical debates of where what came from what.
Where they originated from.
Yeah.
Well,
That's it.
Yeah.
It's a dog chasing its tail. You know, there's just certain parts of history we just.
yeah, Jill, I do remember in America at UAC, there was someone who gave a talk on the lunar mansions and the nakshatras.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was saying that there's Chinese lunar mansions and there's Indian lunar mansions or nakshatras, and there's Arab ones. And this is a very old part of astrology. And this was also a way when there was a lot of commerce along the Silk Road for these cultures to communicate their astrology to each other.
Yeah, but it's been there are the book that I've read says that no, the Chinese lunar mansions, they develop differently and they didn't connect. I don't know why this guy, Dr.
Hi, Marie.
Papoya,
Hi.
kind of
Okay.
stated that there was no connection between the two and how they developed.
Oh.
And nakshatras, from what I've read and what I've studied, is like comes from the precession of the equinoxes,
Yeah.
and that's because the precession of the equinoxes is a worldwide phenomenon. If you're observing the sky over any length of time, you are going to see it. So
Yeah.
every culture will develop something that's connected to the precession of the equinoxes, and that's why the Chinese have probably got the lunar mansions, and the Indians got the nakshatras and the lunar mansions, and so the Babylonians.
Mhm.
It could have been a way of communicating with each other on the Silk Route because they spoke different languages, but they had the same belief system, which allowed them to communicate and to trade amongst each other. And that's what the Harappan seals from the Indus Valley, because there's a lot of star symbolism on them, which I think is the way that, because they had similar beliefs with the stars, that they could communicate using that kind of symbolism on a very basic level with trade. I've seen there's some very interesting things on YouTube about how the Indus civilization traded with the Babylonians, and and the birth of the nakshatras through that. That's what I've been researching, the fact that the nakshatras, which comes from the precession of the equinoxes, and we can go right back into the midst of time, and they did have knowledge of the precession.
Yeah.
And the nakshatras is one of the earliest forms of that law. So I agree with Sonal on that one, and we don't agree.
Thank you, Jill. Priceless.
Yeah, we don't agree on much, but I agree with her on that one.
Hey, Jill.
Yeah.
We were meant to do the oh my God, the fixed star. Remember the fixed star workshop?
Yeah.
But you know, Rod Chang has taken kind of a bit of a dive, really. So we've left it till October. But Jill, you're on the list for opening the fixed stars, okay?
Yeah, because I mean, one of the things I was very interested in listening to your series of lectures,
Yeah.
the fixed stars that are connected with each nakshatra. You know, like Kritika,
Oh, I will put that in. I will put, yeah,
Ariatis, and that.
yeah.
Because that's where the precession of the equinoxes comes from, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
interested in that.
Absolutely. I think you have done very nice work on, you know, like Rohini, which is a Pleiades.
Yeah.
And actually, the zodiac began there, you know, began from there.
Yeah.
You know, and then because it kept slipping and kept slipping and slipping, so it landed up being in air. Do you see? I've got a few slides on that, but I thought that was like beyond the discussion, because the focus here is on deities of the nakshatras and trees and all. So, but that'll be, I can get you the slides, you know, send you the slides and we can discuss that. But it's very interesting about the zodiac and how it began in Rohini in the Pleiades thing, and then it shifted from a geocentric position.
Yeah, yeah. From what I've read, basically, it with the Vedic tradition, it started off with Rohini, went on to Kritika,
Yeah.
and then in 800 BC or 300 BC, somewhere like that,
Yeah.
the Indian astrologers changed it to Aswini or Ariatis.
Yes.
That's when the precession of the equinoxes went into Aries.
Absolutely.
I find that fascinating.
Totally. Even I find it totally fascinating. I mean, how did they manage to figure that out?
They observed the sky.
Hmm.
They observed the sky and saw the slipping.
Yeah.
They saw the
Beautiful.
slipping. When the spring equinox
Yeah.
rises in a different constellation. It is an observation that must have been going on for thousands of years.
Absolutely amazing.
Marcus discovered it, or described it, as I like to say.
I mean, the hinges, you know, the stone hinges and all the, and even like one of the oldest observatories in India, right, in Jaipur, and they all had this like, one would think like, oh, they're just random stones, but they're not. They were like certainly to see the angle when the fixed stars started to rise, you know, they could see that through, you know, it's very fascinating. Even I'm like, wow, man. And the astronomy is mind boggling.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure we'll be discussing lots of things in the next couple of weeks. And then obviously I'm doing the procession from the 21st. So I'll be bringing in all these ideas then.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Okay.
Great night. And yeah.
Lovely.
Okay, people.